I would like to demonstrate how to use grids and lettering to create a composite. Two other videos have been created for the lettering and the grids, which I would suggest that you review previous to this. Let me just open a image in order to be able to review it at this time. Here you can see a image that I'm going to use to create a grid. First of all, I'm going to change the sizing of this so that it will fit into the composite that I am planning on creating. And so if I go to Image and select Image Size, you can see that I have created the shortcut of Control-I, but with the image size, I am going to actually cut it exactly in half, so it's 2.5 by 2 with an output size of 300, making certain to keep the scale and the constrained proportions so that it is exactly correct as it is going to be used in this image. Let me now create a completely new file. So if you go to New, you will notice this is going to be a custom size of 5-inch output by 4-inch output height with 300 dpi, and here is now a new representation of that. So if I take this particular image, use Control-A to capture everything and Control-C to copy everything, then click into the new image that I'm creating and hit Control-V, it now places that particular image in the center of the space. If I use this Move button and move it over, you will notice that I am now getting pink lines on either of the edges at the top and bottom, which means it is perfectly aligned at that particular space. Let me pull up some of the other images that I've already created in the background for this. I'm going to just reduce it so that you're able to see it. It's already reduced in size. Control-A, Control-C, come over to this space, Control-V. Here brings in the new image. I'm going to drag it up and over so that it is now aligned in the second space. Let me go here and bring up this particular image. Whoops. I have too many files open. Let me click that. Control-A, Control-C. And now if I reduce that and come back over here, Control-V, you will notice it is coming to the middle. I'm still with the Move function, so I can bring that down into the lower space. And then finally, I do need to get to this other image over here. So let me just bring that up. Control-A, Control-C, reduce the size with this particular diminish key over here, pop back in and paste it in this space with the Move key. Once again, just clicking on the image, dragging with the mouse so that it is completely aligned. Now you will notice on this far side there are various layers. In this particular case, I did not unlock the background, and it's fine, you don't need to. But I'm going to click on layer 1, and I'm actually going to move it to the top. I'm going to click on layer 4 and move it to the bottom. And I'm going to click on layer 2 and move it up so that they are actually alternating all the way through. And if you double-click in the name, you're actually able to give it a nomenclature of whatever it is you would like to. I'm just going to call this micro. For this one, I'm going to say intermediate. For this, I will say edge. And over here, I'll just call this high power for HP. So you'll see that I now have each of these layers numbered and lettered. So let's go first to the lettering, where you can see I have all of the various letters here with this first area of the vertical and horizontal. So if I take that layer, click on the layer, and then drag and drop, you will notice it's going to completely drop into this space. Now it's dropped between these two, so I'm not able to see it, but if I drag that layer up to the very top so that it is the uppermost one, the one that is going to cover all of the rest of them, I'm now able to move that 2 layer right into the center and make sure that it is going to be aligned. I will come back and align it here on super high power in just a few moments, but let's just use that at this particular case. Now, we created each of these particular functions, but what I would like to do now with this is create a duplicate layer of each of these by right-clicking, go to Duplicate Layer, and create a duplicate layer. If I go to C, do the same thing, right-click, duplicate layer, and have created a duplicate layer. B, I'm going to the duplicate layer, creating a duplicate layer, and A, I'm going to do the same thing, create a duplicate layer. So you will notice I now have all of these copies. So if I click on D, and I click on C, and I click on B, and then move them up, I'm able to get all of them aligned. I use the control function to click on copy, with each of these having the eye open so that they're all going to be together, and this entire grid is now going to be, with a right click, created into a single group for this particular area so that I'm able to use it as a single smart object. So by using this, I'm grouping it into a single smart object, and now you can see if I double click on this space, I can now call this lettering, and now I have all of the lettering combined in a single layer. So now if I take that particular layer, click with the left mouse and drag the whole thing and drop it, you will notice that all of these letters are now all completely aligned with one another without me having to deal with each of the letters individually and moving them over. So this means that they're going to be perfectly aligned with one another as I look at this particular image. So first let's go to the vertical and horizontal. I'm going to use the Control and plus key to take it all the way to the highest point possible. And again, I'm still with the move function over here. And by using the Control arrow keys, you can see that I have moved this so that it is now perfectly aligned. You'll notice it's a little bit below the 2 mark here, but using the Control up arrow key, I'm able to get that into a centered space for this grouping. Now, if I go to the lettering, and I'm going to just drag, right? Because you know that you can just drag and keep dragging until the letters come into place. And in this case, they were quite a long distance away, so I'm just going to drag it over here first so that it's a little bit closer. Control plus brings it all the way up into that high magnification again, and I'm still in the movement key. So by moving slightly, you'll notice, again, that's about the same area where you have just slight opacification of it. Control up arrow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Control right arrow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now if I use the Control minus, you will notice that it has aligned all of those particular letters because they are all gridded together as a composite for this lettering layer. So now I have created a completely unique setting for this, and that's all you need to do. Now, I'm going to double-click in the center of this, and it is going to say that I am now able to edit the content, and it will bring up the lettering. So let's say that I wanted the D area in this particular case to be a different color. So I click on the letter, and let's say I'm going to choose a fabulous, oh no, let's do green because that'll just show up better. And you'll notice it has changed to green. And I don't think that's going to show up well. Blue is going to show up better. So if I now click OK, it now has left me with that particular color difference just for that one layer. And obviously you can change any of them. You can click on B and go to the color, and now you can say, I want that one to be in yellow, and it's going to change it to yellow because you're just changing each individual layer as you do it. You then hit the close feature, which is the one up here, and you'll notice I'm below the program. This is just closing this particular file, and it's saying, do you want to make changes to this particular layer? And you obviously say yes, because that's what you want to do, and you will see now that the two colors have been changed in this particular case, with all of these still layered. It is my practice to usually save a file like this first in Photoshop, so just do a file save, and you can call it whatever you like, papillary carcinoma. You will see that maximizing compatibility, and this is a very large file. However, now if I go to the flatten feature, and if you go to layers and flatten image over here, I have set Control F to do that, but you can do whatever you like, and now flatten it, you will see that all of those particular functions have now gone completely. And now I can do a file save as, because I want to save it as a new name, and rather than as a Photoshop file, I can select whatever it is. I know most journals like TIFF images because they are much more easily reproduced and easy to see, and so I'm going to keep this as an IBM interlevered and no image compression, and I have now created the image. Thanks for listening.